Much anticipated Canon R5 and R6 are finally here. And here's why I won't be upgrading. What's going on, everybody? If you're new around here, my name is Finn Badgley. I'm a commercial fashion and portrait photographer. And the rumors are true. The Canon R5 and R6 are here. And I know many of you, even like myself, have been excited for this release for months. Pre-orders are coming in left and right, but I won't be one of them. Some of you might be thinking, how could you not? 8K RAW, 4K uncropped, 120 frames, 45 megapixel stills, up to 20 frames per second shooting? How could you not love all of that? And don't get me wrong, these specs are very exciting. This is a leap that a lot of people would consider to make this camera, which I'm shooting this on right now, the Canon EOS R, obsolete. And for some of them, that might be true. Hey everyone, it's been a couple days since the initial filming of the video that you're seeing right now, and there's been a lot more rumors and releases regarding cameras in the past couple days. We got the Blackmagic Ursa Mini 12K that came out, and we got some specs for the A7S III. I just felt like I should tack those into this video because it's all very relevant. On the note of, say, the Eos R5 having 8K and now the Ursa Mini having 12K, for one thing, you're going to need a massive editing machine to be able to process these files properly without having a computational incinerator. And all these cameras are incredibly exciting. The leaps and bounds that are being made by these manufacturers is incredibly exciting and inspiring to see. But if anything, this is just a further reminder that gear isn't everything. Even the A7S III, with how fantastic it's probably going to be in low light, having a low megapixel count. All these things are wonderful and exciting to see, but that doesn't mean you need to go out and buy them right away. Because honestly, the camera that you probably have right now is good enough for what you need to do. And if it's not, that's when look at what you need and look at what would suit the work that you do, not just what has the best specs, because at the end of the day, what works for you isn't going to work for everybody. And even if some specs lean one way, they might not be suitable for your work and what you do. I just wanted to jump in there and add that with these new camera releases coming out, and I'm gonna throw it back over to past me. But the fact of the matter is, for me, this camera fits into my workflow perfectly and it suits every need that I have. It isn't too much camera, it isn't too little camera. It fits perfectly in a spot that I needed filled, and while it has its flaws, I think every camera does. And for a lot of freelance photographers and videographers, the R5 and R6 can fit seamlessly into their workflow and can up their game. But for me, I just don't think it's worth it. And if I were to be on a job that required something more than any of the cameras that I currently own, that is when I would rent the exact camera that that job calls for. The R5 shooting 8K is something that could be used in the film industry as something like a crash camera or an additional camera. I've seen similar cameras used for security cameras or anything like that, where you still want decent quality, but you're not going to be sacrificing a $100,000 Alexa setup just for one shot. And no hate to Canon or any camera brand. What they're doing is innovation that has been lacking for a bit, and that's great to see. However, for a lot of professionals, we don't always need the latest and greatest thing. And you might be saying, you're shooting on the EOS R. Who are you to talk? And you know what? That's a valid point. And when I bought this camera, there was already rumors of the R5 and R6 coming out. So I knew what I was getting into. But for me, I knew it was time and that this camera could handle all the expectations that I had of it. The camera that I had before this, right here, the Canon 6D, carried me for many years, and for a lot of my shoots, it still does just fine, and I even use it for additional footage here and there on this channel. But it did about 80% of what I needed it to. And that 20% became too critical within my work where I needed to take that next step. And that's when I got the camera that is shooting me currently. Do I regret not waiting? Honestly, I don't. I got the camera when it was on sale to save myself a couple bucks, so the decrease in price that will inevitably happen won't really affect me at all. And seeing the current lineup of the RP, the R, the R5, and the R6, honestly, out of all of them, I would still probably go with the R just because it fits all the needs that I have. And at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Not what camera is the newest or has the best specs. What works for you and what suits your needs as a professional. Up until just recently, this camera was what I shot everything on. It carried me up until this point through my entire professional career. And it is now 8 years old. It was released 8 years ago, and it still performs at the level that I needed it to. The thing is, it isn't always about the gear. A new camera won't make you a better photographer or cinematographer or videographer. It just won't. The reality of it is, if you want to get better, you have to just practice and learn your camera inside and out. Why are these the two cameras that I run with all the time? Because I've learned them to the point where if anything goes wrong with them, I know how to fix it immediately and keep going. And that knowledge, that precious time saving, will save your skin in a pinch. If, say you're shooting a wedding and one of your cameras goes down, are you gonna know how to get it back in working order in seconds? Because if not, you could be in serious trouble. If that happened during the kiss, for example, well, yeah, I'll let you fill in the blanks there. Or on a commercial photography gig, let's say one of my cameras stops working for some reason or has some weird finicky thing that it's doing. If I don't know how to fix that immediately, then the client's going to start looking at me like, hey, why are we stopping? Why isn't this, what's going wrong? And then that makes them start to doubt me as a professional. Learn your cameras inside and out to where you can create the best possible photos and videos with them. It'll save you time and it'll save you money. Now, that said, I'm not telling you not to buy these cameras. I'm not telling you to buy these cameras. Just take a look at why before you do. Before you take that leap, take a look at why, and if the gear that you're currently using isn't serving you as you need, and this camera would, and you can afford it and all that kind of stuff, all the power to you. By all means, take that leap. But if you're going into this thinking that it'll make you a better photographer, better videographer, the truth is you'll be disappointed. I've seen it all the time. At the end of the day, use what you like. Use what works for you, and that's really all that matters. And any capable professional, no matter what camera you put in their hands, they'll get a solid image out of it. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I saw these announcements come out, and I thought about it. I looked over all the specs and saw sample footage from the test units and thought, you know what? This actually looks pretty good. But I took a step back and realized that a lot of the things these cameras are offering are things that I, as a professional, don't need. I'm very much somebody who believes in living within your means, and part of having a successful career is doing that professionally. And part of that means investing in the best lighting and lenses and learning how to use those to the best of your ability, and not just upgrading to the newest camera every time it comes out. Because at the end of the day, if you know how to light a scene properly, you're going to produce greater results than a camera alone ever could. When you take the time and effort to invest in yourself and master your craft, that'll get you so much farther than any piece of gear ever could. Now, that said, if you have the money and you can afford to and you want to, and you think it'll make you enjoy the process of taking photos and videos again, then all the power to you. I'm not here to stop you. I'm just here to remind you that gear isn't everything. And at the end of the day, you're the person behind the camera. And if you know how to use that to the best possible ability, then that will outperform any specs that can ever be packed into a camera. If you see this innovation, you're thinking of switching from one brand to another, honestly, pretty much every camera that's put out nowadays you can get a solid image out of, be it photo or video. Just take a look what works for you, what suits your needs, and run with it. Now, with all that said, show that like button some love, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos, and I'll see you on the next one.